For Reaper Metal Productions, I am Adam of Unbaptized Records, making a brand new video for you today. And today I want to talk about the future of music, specifically my vision for the future of music consumption. Now, I think the future for music production actually looks really good. I would say, talking about the future, let's just say the next 20 to 30 years. I would say the outlook for that actually looks good because the free market of ideas is pretty much at its peak for entry. I think that at this point, any band can start, any project can start, and the free market of ideas will take over what's good and what isn't, because anyone pretty much has the ability to record. And especially now, even if you're not the most instrumentally talented, you can always include a drum machine. So if you're going to create some sort of demo and you only have the ability to maybe record guitar, chances are you can also maybe learn bass, and then you can add in vocal effects, so you don't always have to be the best vocalist, and add a drum machine in the background just so that you have music created for you, recorded to any physical or digital media you want, whether it's Spotify or YouTube or burning a CD, putting it on a tape, reaching out to a label, whatever it is. DIY is at its peak for that, so I don't think music production is going to be any bit of an issue. And again, you have to use your due diligence like you would at any other point in the history of music. With what music you like, you listen to it maybe before you buy it physically, obviously, unless it's a band you really know well and you have a good feeling it's going to be good. So you really don't have to worry much about that. But I think, unfortunately, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, I'm sure I'm way late to the game on this anyway, that the consumption of music in the future is going to suck. Now, I hope I'm wrong, because a lot of times people predict these kind of things and they're not right, which is a good thing. I'd rather be kind of doom and gloom and then it turns out to be better than to be too optimistic unnecessarily and then it ends up not necessarily being a good outcome. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm sure with the advent of the tape and especially the CD, that people who collected vinyl thought vinyl would never come back, and now it's actually kind of made a comeback, and for the most part people still consider it to be pretty much the best format for listening to music physically. And even with digital consumption, even people who do consume music digitally, who also own music physically, will usually alternate between the two. So it still seems like the older version of producing music, consuming music on vinyl records are pretty much accepted as that's still the best and the standard. Now, the problem is where to consume the media. So I do still think that if you were to listen to music in a stationary place, then you probably will have no problem. So I use this as an example. So something like hooking things up, making sure that you will always have the technology to produce whatever media you want. So this was years ago, but I bought an Atari 2600, and if you can't tell by looking at me, I was not alive when it first came out. I was born in 1990. But I wanted to play the game. It was available. The games that were on the system, like the actual original games, like the Frogger, Frogs and Flies, Galaga, stuff like that, Pac-Man. The physical cartridges were still available for sale. They were like $2 each at a local store chain called Game Exchange. So I bought the system for about $60. Games were like $2. And I was able to get this tiny little adapter for less than $5 and hook it up to, at the time, which was a pretty brand new, expensive LED TV, 55-inch. I think this may have been 10 years ago. It's like a $2,000 TV. Atari 2600 came out, in the late 70s? And it was still able, with a $5 adapter, to play, which is good. So even older technology, without being an emulator or anything, was able to be used on a newer piece of technology. Now, unfortunately, technology changes a lot in a way where at this point it's not necessarily improving in anything. I mean, anyone who owns a smartphone knows that it's like anytime a new phone comes out, your old one a lot of times has what's called planned obsolescence, where Apple especially will make it stop working as well to make you buy the new product, even though there's nothing wrong with it. Back in my day, this is kind of true. Just things other than technology, will say, they just lasted longer. They were built to last. I feel like cars lasted longer, furniture lasted longer. Now everything is built cheaper, crappily, and just made to last a couple of years, and that's it, which is really unfortunate. Same with technology, and then they're constantly changing things that don't need to be changed, like smartphones don't have audio jacks anymore, so you have to use Bluetooth, which is more expensive, and then when you lose them, that's expensive to replace. The chargers are always being unnecessarily changed. So there's all this useless technology change that doesn't make anything better. It just makes it better for the companies who are selling this crap so they can make more money. You can't use your old technology to charge your phone anymore. So with that being said, something like the automobile, the car, that most people still use. We don't have flying vehicles at this point. I mean, not for commercial use. I guess they technically have been invented. I'm not talking about the airplane. I mean a car that can actually fly. There was some prototype that supposedly came out, and haven't really heard much about it since. So for the most part, we're still driving like we were 100 years ago. The only major difference is that we have electric vehicles available, but not to the extent that people probably thought they would have been even 20, 30 years ago. The one thing that does change in the car is the technology of the car. So unfortunately, most newer cars are probably not going to come with a CD player. Definitely not a cassette player, obviously. So that being said, when you drive, which a lot of people still do, because unfortunately, even post-COVID, the work-at-home jobs, a lot of them disappeared, which really does suck. If you're driving, like again, a lot of people still do, and you want to listen to music, it forces the people who do collect the physical media, for the most part, to either buy an older car, hopefully install a CD player into their dash if they can, or listen to Spotify or YouTube. The reason that sucks is because unless you want a seamless way to listen, you're probably going to have to pay for the premium version of Spotify or YouTube without ads, because Spotify with ads is basically unlistenable. And as far as I remember, because I did have it in the beginning, you couldn't really make playlists as easily, and it would just be interspersed every 8 to 10 songs with a whole bunch of stupid ads. It's like, why don't I just listen to the CD? Why am I going to go ahead? Because for the most part, most of the music I listen to, unless I'm checking it out, it's music I already own. So it's just the convenience of having a playlist of multiple songs by different bands all at once, but it's still music I own. So I'm just choosing to listen to that music in a playlist format like I used to do with an iPod, which I wish that technology was still kind of around and useful, which basically isn't, because even my old iPod doesn't hold a charge. iTunes is no longer being supported, meaning all those songs that was stupid enough and a sucker enough to pay for, I can no longer access, which really sucks. Not that there was a ton of music I bought digitally, but there was a few things here and there. Occasionally, I'd get relatives that maybe give you a iTunes gift card or something for a holiday, so then all that music is gone. So that was kind of the workaround way, or again, technology's almost gotten worse. That was almost the pinnacle, in my opinion, of digital music, because you would still I would at least get a physical CD, load it onto my computer, burn it onto my computer. It would be on iTunes. I'd still own the CD, but have a digital version as well that I can make a playlist, and there was no ads. So I'd own the iPod outright. I have my digital music stored, and I could listen to it in any form I want, but still have the physical. Now, again, iTunes doesn't exist anymore for the most part. Computers don't have CD drives. External drives that I've bought, at least, are usually pieces of crap. So you have to spend extra for them, and they don't work. Maybe it's just my bad luck. I don't know. But I really liked that era of technology, and I feel like it's just gotten worse rather than better. So you have forced to pay for Spotify, or you're going to listen to CDs, which is great, which I try to do most of the time. The problem is, most cars don't have them anymore. So now you're stuck listening to digital music, and you're stuck paying for music even if you already own it. So that absolutely sucks ass. So I don't think the future of consumption of music is going to be as good as the production in any way, shape, or form. I think we're kind of screwed unless we can find a way in the future to hopefully be able to still retrofit our cars with CD players, because to me, that's still going to be the most important way to listen to music, because we were never really going to be able to listen to records in your car. I know at one point they had ability to do that, but it was kind of stupid. So CDs are going to be the best way to listen to music in your car in a physical format. So hopefully that can still be around. And if that is around in the future and I'm wrong, I will be happy. If CD players are either part of cars naturally, or if not, for the most part, probably won't be, can be retrofit into cars, then I think that's a good future. If not, I think we're kind of screwed. So hopefully I'm wrong with that. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you in the next video.